Right, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Colin Keelty. My guest tonight is Ian Mudd. I class him as a cryptozoology, but I'm sure Ian will tell us all about it. So, Ian, please, can you give us a bit of a bio on yourself and how you got into all this, please?
Yeah, sure. Born in '64, Manchester. Late home village was a village, Sterndale Moor, East Cheshire, on the Derbyshire border. Grew up there. Left the country 83, 85, came back, joined the army, 8.5 years. I've been in security ever since. How I got into the hobby, or cryptids. Basically, I say in 2007 I got called up for reserve service in Iraq, and went to barracks in Derby.
Yeah.
3 days. They said, no, thanks, we don't need you. Goodbye. So when I got back to work, I was put on a shift system. Before that, I was on like permanent days. But they put me on a shift system, nights, days, etc.
Okay.
And it's a 2-hour boring walk around this huge building that's right next to Reading Station.
Right.
And I started listening to various podcast shows, and then I came across Vic Cundiff's Dogmen Encounters, and obviously I started listening to that. That was quite interesting. I always like listening to like some of the old boys that go out in the woods hunting or just camping, and they'd always talk about these tree structures, or tree sign, as they call it. And the reason why I mention that is because when I come to visit my nan, who lives 40 miles north of Reading, I take some of the back roads, and a lot of this so-called tree sign is all around, whether it be Velvauza or Canine. And so, Christmas Day 2016, I parked up a couple of miles up the road. Place Chasey Heath in a pub car park. It was thick fog.
Right.
And I walked across the road, and like I say, there's the corner of a wood, and to the left there's a single pathway down to a farm. And left of that there's a road. Sorry, field.
All
So
right.
I was in the corner section of the woods, and I noticed this movement on the left corner of my eye. And whatever it was about 2 foot bigger than me. And I turned around, and it turned into.
So how big are you, Ian? How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Right. So, well, it's a good size then.
Yeah. And I caught the right shoulder and the right side of the head, and it turned in. And I thought, okay, seeing is believing. And so I New Year came and went, and the first weekend of Jan, I started walking around what I call Nooney Woods. Now, Nooney Woods is basically 7, 8 different woods all interconnected together.
Right. Okay.
Around a hamlet called Nooney Green, which is a beautiful, picturesque place. And like I said before, it's a perfect setting for Hammer House of Horror.
Right.
I would not like to be out there at night.
I've been to a few places a bit similar, but yeah.
So we found a birthing den. The reason why I can say it was a birthing den because one had already been described by a hunter in one of Vic's shows, and it had the classic makeup. It was a structure with extensive branches and branches. Oh my God. I'm a bit of a mental block there. And, showing right across. So like anything coming up to it. And then there was like a defensive barrier in front of the main hole. And I took some pictures. And it was and basically, when I got back home, I was looking through the pictures, I realised that the muzzle was staring out the tree canopy down at me. I didn't know. No. And then sort of like going into January, there was another where I was walking along a footpath, and they make like these temporary structures out of ivy trees. I call them ivy dens.
Right.
Where they weave the branches of the ivy trees together and some of them sometimes come with like what looks like a front door. Yeah, it's got the archway and the whole lot. And
do they always use ivy then? You know, or is it just anything they can get their hands on, or is it mainly ivy?
Ivy, rhododendron bushes.
Basically, what's available at the area.
Yeah, but I mean, anything willing to give them good, you know, camouflage and cover.
Yeah.
But so some of them, I mean, you know, some of the sort of pyramid type structures, you know, they just blatantly. I mean, some of them, you go around New Woods, they're right next to the path.
Right, I can believe that. Yeah. You
know, I just don't care. And anyway, I was walking past this ivy den, and one was sat with its back to me. It was about 4 foot tall on its haunches. Like I said, you know, the coat was just immaculate. You know, a line right down the centre of it, but there was no shine on the coat. It was dull.
Right.
But even though the coat was, like I say, immaculate. It was kept clean. There was no smell. There was no putrid smell. There was nothing. It was just, and the thing didn't even turn its head. I mean, also Dino was there, but it just didn't care.
You see, I've had smell. I've had a lot of smell, and where you haven't. Yeah. Do you think there's a reason for that? You think the smell could be a warning, or?
I think, well, I mean, when you realise, I've heard a couple of accounts where, you know, sometimes they're not, you know, they cover themselves in sulphur, you know, to keep.
That's where the old stinker comes from the Flixton werewolf, because they smell sulphur all the time.
And maybe it's just because, you know, some are just so unkept, you know, they don't bother bathing. But I mean, you hear accounts of them bathing in rivers and swimming,
right?
You know, especially the ones in America. But I think I've never come across a real bad smell. I mean, I've had the one time when I was really, really scared. That was the one that was about 200 meters in front of me, but that was sort of projecting on me. It's to sort of say it was so hungry, whatever it was going to eat and kill. And I think it was kind of giving me a like, get out.
Yeah.
But I've never had. I mean, I've smelled a wet dog, like an overpowered.
I've had that.
Not the putrid smell of death or some of the other more extensive descriptions, as you know, provided some of our North American cousins, as the way they would describe it, or even some in Holland or in Germany.
Yeah, I've Germany. Yeah, I've had a couple of reports from Germany, and they've had the same smell: wet dog, putrid, urine type of.
Yeah, Yeah, I've had that in the car. We've had it at home. You know, because I think the last time we talked, I mentioned about them coming in the home.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
in the house. Yeah, and you know, sometimes the missus, like in the afternoon, I think twice now. The last couple of years, she goes, "I'm just going out for a walk because I can smell a wet dog. Can't see it, but I can smell it." We don't own a dog.
No, right, okay.
I mean, one April 2 years ago, she came home from work, and there was one about 5 or 6 foot tall walking around in the back garden, greyish. And I was still at work at the time, and she was banging on the window. She was telling me about it. She was banging on the window. Yeah, you know, when there's a stray cat in the back garden, you don't want it defecating there, and you shoot it and try and shoot it away.
Yeah, I have a few here. Yeah.
Well, the old girl was doing that, and the thing came up to the back door waiting to be let in. Whereupon she ran upstairs and hid in the bathroom. So
I think I'd be pooing, I think.
Yeah, she was a bit annoyed that that these things were starting to follow me home. But I mean, they'd been sort of following me for a few years, and I just didn't bother telling her.
Where do you think they're following you, Ian? Is it because I know you've offered them food, because you told me as we spoke off the air. Do you think it's because you've been giving them gifts, or do you think there's a connection, or
I think there's a connection. It could be something else, but personally, I like to think better in terms of it's a 24/7 surveillance, and
Right.
they just like being there, just curious. I know they're really curious. I mean, I had one time when I was walking to work. I mean, there's no dawn chorus sometimes where I live, and I'm walking down, and honestly, you could cut the atmosphere with a chainsaw. And sometimes I take pictures, and you know they're about 20 meters behind me in the shadows.
Right.
But it's the mass of the black against the light, and sometimes you can pick out the canine shape.
Right.
I mean, one time I used to go up. I used to do a Wednesday night run up to Manans, you know, cup of tea, and then come back the same night. I mean, on Wednesday I started staying over, but we'd always go by Nooney Woods. There's a particular steel gate where they like to. They know I'm there; they'll be there. And you know, one time I was walking up to the gate, and I saw the back legs of one just going around a bush, just the lower half, and he was going around to where the missus was, because the missus just wouldn't like look up. keep looking at the phone like that, you know. And one parked itself right next to the passenger car door and squatted down with its arms out like that, resting on its knees.
Right.
It was just like looking like that, looking at her. And I took a picture, and I you know, again, I told her a couple of days later. She at night she doesn't want to talk about it. At first, I've got a cracking picture.
Yeah, I can understand it.
No, it's like also the one at Glasshouse along over Hill in Gloucestershire. I mentioned the other day. You know, like there's no bird song, there's no nothing, but you can see the birds and the animals and the deer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I jokingly, you know, like the squirrels are in like ninja mode, and
that's it, the Osborne effect, where everything like a big bubble, everything just goes quiet.
Oh, do they ever? And we're walking up this pathway, and there's a hash ram there, and they've got this huge diesel Jenny blaring, you know, pumping out huge sound. We're walking up this path, and there were a few meters off to my, maybe about 20, 30 meters off to my left, there was one sat on its haunches. I saw it, and it zapped, I mean, like a black blur, just went from left to right. Came around us to get in front of us, and crossed the road, got into some other bushes, and I said to the missus, turn around, smile for the camera, and in the background you can see the head. It's looking. I didn't tell her till we got on. So,
how do you think these? How do you think these move around? I mean, do you think these stay to one location, or do you think they migrate up and down Britain?
I do think they have pack areas. I mean, I think they are territorial. I mean, to me, Nooney Woods seems to be like a home because they breed there.
Bit of a hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely. I mean, I see at least 2 out of the last 7 years I've been doing it. I'd say 6. I've seen 2 sets of cubs each year.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Is that?
And they seem to have a sort of hierarchy. You know, the females. You know, the higher up the pack ladder.
Oh,
more,
they usually do, don't they? Wild wolves. They usually
get
a pecking order.
Get to go first, and the lower end females towards autumn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen them hunt 4 times. So I've taken a picture of a cub in a den. I've had cubs run up to me. I even had a cub once. I just felt I was being watched, and I turned around.
Excuse me.
Caught the top of the chest hair in the head, and the shoulders and a bit of the arms, and it kind of looked was taken back.
It's stunned.
And he looked at left and right. It's like, what do I do? And they just dived off. You know?
I can imagine that.
I mean, I've got a picture of one. I mean, I had to zoom the picture in, but it's there. But the parents were like almost on the edge of the wood that bordered the main road.
Right.
Yeah, one of them's watching me, and the other one's kind of got its front arms up against the tree like it's stretching.
Well, like
Yeah.
well, you see trees with claw marks. I mean, especially our, like you say, our cousins in America, they get claw marks, don't they? Really high up on trees, and some say it's bears, but some say it's.
Well, I've got
big Dogman.
I've got pictures of claw marks on English trees.
Yeah.
And there's one. It's like there's one where they've gone like with a chisel with about an inch width blade, and they just when you chip away with a chisel.
Yeah.
You get those that scarring. Well,
there's got to be some sharp claws on it, is that?
Yeah, but they're sort of like digging up like that, and sometimes it's about 3-4 foot off the ground, and then sometimes it can be like a third of the way up the tree.
Well, heck. These things actually move around. I mean, I've had a lot of reports from green belts, people seeing them on green belts, and bits of industrial sites where they just have a bit of greenery going through it. I've actually had a few witnesses seeing these things move through these greenery belts. So I think these things actually migrate, but I don't know. So, I'm with you saying it's some places maybe are hot spots and they just stay there. Some maybe do migrate. I don't know. But yeah, it's very interesting that.
I mean, round Reading, there's I think there's over 120, maybe about 129 disused chalk mines.
That's usually a good magnet for them.
So I think some are used for tourists.
Right.
I mean, I once talked to a neighbour of mine. This is going back maybe about 5 years ago. And I was going out to the car and I bumped into him and he goes, "Where are you going today, mate?" I went, okay. So I'm going to look for werewolves. And he just looked at me and he goes, "You need to go up behind Reading University up there." And just walked off.
So obviously he knew something.
Yeah.
Have you interviewed him or ever chatted to him since?
No. I just it's some people are quite happy to sort of, I mean, like a postman. 2015, postman delivering in the morning. I'm signing for it. I'm listening to one of the big shows, and this is when they had the black cutout of the werewolf, like just about to bolt running.
Yeah.
And it was. I was talking, and I kept saying about all this strange stuff around Chasey Heath. And he goes, "I actually saw an 8-foot figure once walking through the undergrowth like it wasn't there." He said, I thought it was a guy in a gorilla suit. And he turned around and he looked at this Bricks logo and he went, "That's it. That's what I saw."
Wow.
I went, "Bloody hell." He said it was about 8 foot tall.
I say it's surprising how many people there. I mean, I used to pussyfoot about, pardon the expression, but and go around it the wrong way. But now I just come out blatantly with it now and say what I do. And I had one of my cards, obviously. Let's get one of my cards out. There you go. Cryptozoology. If you see out, give me a shout. And that's it. And some of them are stunned. Some want to know more. Some call you a crank. I've been called all sorts over the years. I'm sure you have, Ian. But
yeah.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
I mean, a lot of people at work, when show pictures, and they're like, I've never had anyone at work sort of go, "Nah, it's a load of rubbish." But they look at the pictures and they go, "Oh, right." Some people are like, "Don't know." I say, "I could take you up the woods and show you."
That's it. Like, we discussed this, didn't we? Yeah. I've got a couple at work saying no such bloody thing, but they give me the space. They don't take the mickey, which I appreciate. They don't do that. They know I'm passionate about it, but like you just said then. I mean, I told you. I mean, I've told viewers before, but I mean, I offered a guy to go out in the woods, put a chair in the middle of the woods, sitting there for 2 hours, come back in the woods, pick you up. You tell me there's only bunny rabbits, and he wouldn't refuse. And I told him, "I'll pay you 50 quid. I'll give you 50 quid. I'll pick you up in the car." He still refused. I don't know. Obviously, he didn't want to risk it, did he? So But, that was a skeptic. It was at me all the time. I had to mention his name. This was a few years ago. Every time I saw him, you were crank, you were an idiot, you blah, blah, blah. Right, come with me. No thanks. Oh,
Yeah.
why is that then? Why? Yeah, we get him in. We do get him. So, do you think that this population of these? I mean, I don't like the word dogmen. I know you do, but we'll just say it for the viewers. But do you think the population of these dogmen have gone down? Because what was it, about 500 years ago? I mean, England was covered in forest. I mean, we had bears and wolves, but as you know, agriculture's took over the years, hasn't it? We've hardly got any forest left. What's your opinion on that?
I think there's quite a healthy population here because, I mean, if you look at the number of reported sightings from the 60s and 70s, there's only, maybe the 80s, there's only a handful. I mean, the real uptake is obviously the sighting with black cats.
But do you think that's due to, I mean, there's a lot more media now coverage now. I mean, if I pump now, and it could be around the world in the next 3 minutes. And then in the like 50s and 60s, you relied on newspapers, didn't we, really?
Yeah, but I think it's due to the conservation. I mean, like the rapid increase in deer population.
Right, okay.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, there's, I think I probably mentioned that there's a friend of mine who lives on the outskirts of Swindon, not far from Royal Wootton Bassett.
Okay.
On a new housing estate, and there's a massive den there, and he was saying there was like bones. It's only a small wooden copse, but this den is right there, right next to this housing estate. There's about 500 meters off to the left. There's a farm that raises horses, and he was saying that this small wooden copse was covered in bones, and there was a hole, there was a burrow.
Yeah,
and he's like 6'4", and he said he can get in there easy on all fours.
Right.
And it wasn't far from the lay-by where the trucker saw a female with a cub.
Wow.
The road to Royal Wootton Bassett kind of passes him. Yeah. To the north, and there's a lay-by, and a trucker saw one a few years ago in there. It was kipping in the ditch next to the lay-by.
Well, that's a bit of a strange place to kip, isn't it, really? I suppose it's anywhere.
But I think there's plenty of woodland.
Yeah, there is. I mean, obviously our American cousins, they've got 5 million acres. What we got, compared to them, it's a pinprick, isn't it? What we got, not even that, I don't think. Yeah. I know some of the ones I go and you think, oh, they're massive, but they're not really. I mean, after about 5-10 minutes, you get the other end, but some of them, you think there can't be anything there, but you do get reports, which I do find strange because it's just such a small area, but they are there.
Yeah, I mean the pack sizes. Mine's about 20, roughly.
Yeah.
So I don't think. Their operating radius is about 20-25 miles.
Right. Okay.
And let's say they're omnivores. I mean, thinking that their sole diet is meat. It's not. I mean, there's plenty of cornfields around here.
There is here where I am, really.
And they like corn.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they got fish. I mean, despite the normal rodents and hares, rabbits. I mean, pigeon is a favourite of theirs.
I can believe that.
Because
there's a lot of them about.
There's a lot of when I go in, sometimes you find plucked feathers, and they're plucked because at the end of the quill, at the end of the stem of the way, it's been pulled out. It's not been chewed on.
I've come across that several times. I've never given it a glance because I've always thought it's maybe farmer or poacher just plucked it there and then as he shot it. But I have come across that quite a lot.
Yeah, you should look at the end of the feather, see if it's been chewed and squared off, or it's still where it's just been pulled out. I mean, a mate of mine up in Cheshire. I mean, he said he's seen one jump out of a tree and just stomp on a swan. And another time, I've got not of the event, but post the event, where it just ripped the wings off it.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
That is a. Yeah. Did he take the carcass away, but just rip the wings off?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
And
Sorry, I don't like swearing, but
I mean, there's a count that I think the BBR for. I mean, just down the road from my home village is New Mills, Derbyshire, right across the border.
Yeah.
And there's a patch of woodland up there, and some lad reported seeing 4 of them skin sheep.
I've come across carcasses, and sometimes you think, well, I know some of it is big cat. I've been, like I say, I've got a friend who's he's an ex like wildlife expert. It was in Africa. That's where he grew up. Now he's in England. It's a long drawn out story why he's come across here, but like, I send him pictures and he'll say, yeah, big cat, that's definitely big cat kill. And sometimes he say, I ain't got a clue what that is. But whatever it is canine. Sometimes I've had that said to me a few times from him. And sometimes he says, I just ain't got a clue. I can't put it down to anything.
Yeah.
So that's,
I mean, I've got a relative that works at Matt Council.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about 10 sheep that were killed near Sutton Farm, Sutton Forest, Macclesfield Forest. And 7 of the sheep had been run to the ground, died of heart attack, and the other 3 had been ripped apart. But he said one of them, the jaw, the teeth, had been the rump of one of these sheep. The jaws on this thing had clamped on it, on the rump, and then physically pulled the back legs out. So that was September 2017, I think.
Wow.
Or 2018, maybe. And I went up there to look, and I couldn't find any physical evidence. There were still police notices, but beware of wild dogs.
Yeah, that's what they put up in it.
Which was kind of interesting. But I found the field, but honestly, it's just like someone who's gone across it with a hoover.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're certainly good cleaners. They can clean up.
I mean, in 2014. Well, we got Henley on Thames here.
Yeah,
Reading, right? And there was a farmer lost 120 sheep in one night. 100 had been all died of cardiac arrest, and the other 20 had been eaten.
It was actually still in the field, though.
Yeah, but that was a local news, not national news. And then here in Whitney, there's a farm just outside a village called Ducklington.
Oh,
and the farm, he's always complaining about dog owners and dogs ripping his sheep apart. And I'm thinking,
yeah, I have a lot of family friends around here now over the years, but one of them's got really, and he's reported several times to me things. He had an occurrence with something in a barn one night as well. He had no lighting in the barn. This has been a long time, but this morning he sent me this print. He says it's the only print anywhere around, just one single print, dog print, big print, middle of nowhere, and he put a can of Coke next to it just for a reference. Took a picture, sent me it. He said, what do you think? I said, it's big, whatever it is. He said, but it's the only one around. So, I mean, even I've come across this. Can you explain that as well? Could you?
I think that when you find,
but again, like he's had a lot of things going on his farm. So sheep, things like that. Horse. One of his horses died one night. The vet said to him, "I think it's fright." He says,
I know they got a thing about raping horses, especially the male ones.
Really?
Yeah. Or torturing cats.
Wow.
Dogs are like Happy Meal McDonald's.
Without the plastic toy.
Yeah.
I can imagine that, actually. Why cats there? Well, I don't know. I suppose it's...
I don't... They just seem to have a visceral hatred for cats. They just...
And you do come across this a lot of time. I mean, we've had one round here. There's a big thing in a local paper saying cats was going missing. Now, they think it was somebody doing it purposely, but...
Well, do you remember a few years back? And I think it was in the news. It was in some national papers about some psycho torturing cats.
Cats, yeah. I can't think. I can picture it. I can't think of the place.
They seemed to go. There was some in the Midlands, and there was some down in the southeast.
Yeah, there was, wasn't there? Somewhere, something like that.
Yes.
The place, the name of it was a village, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, but they never caught anyone.
No, they didn't. No.
I mean, I know of one. I've forgotten her name now, but a lady up in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Was telling me about some local's cat had been skinned, and then the underside had been cut open, and the intestines had been pulled out, and they left it alive.
Bloody hell. Wow, sorry for swearing. I don't, like I said, I don't know swearing.
I'm sorry, they're just with cats. They're just absolutely sadistic. You know?
Yeah, well, I suppose it is like cats, isn't it? Cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs, yeah.
They've always when I had my dog, it hated cats. I never taught it to be hated cats, but it just was inbred. So
yeah. I mean, it's like how many times you hear about these werewolves going to dog kennels and trying to rip the roof off to get at the dogs inside.
Well, I've never had any cases of that. I've never come across any, but
yeah, there's a couple of accounts in Vic's series in America, right. But a couple of lads from Lancashire walking home after a band practice.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like a full hour 15 episode, and they were saying where they got to, where they live, one of the locals kept a kennel with 10 dogs in there.
Yeah.
And these things were just like freaking out. And Emily's mate, sort of like, boy,
we're going to have a look.
Whereupon this 8-foot thing just came out and charged them, followed by another one that was about 6-7 foot tall. And they did like a shoulder barge. And he said it flung him, it hit him so hard, he flew back and hit this guy's van parked on the road and dented it. Dislocated his shoulder and bust his forearm or something.
Oh, heck. So that must have been in a local paper then, was it?
I don't know if he said they reported it, but the owner of the house came out and basically, he thought these two were fighting.
Well, you would have done, wouldn't you, really, I suppose?
Yeah, and this him and his mate sort of had to play along with that, because you said you can't have two. You can't say, "Oh, well, we stopped 2 werewolves from eating your pet dogs, mate."
No, it's not the everyday story, is it? Really?
Yeah.
I've come to report a werewolf officer. Yeah.
No, but I mean,
that's it.
You can tell. Normally when people sort of relate these stories, you can tell the truth because their voice
changes.
The voice or the attitude.
Mm.
It's not like you get up there on stage and spin a great story like some court minstrel or jester. Excuse me. Just relating back to the chat back in 1981, Martin, who's driving on the back roads around Cannock Chase with his then girlfriend.
Yeah.
And there was one sat in the road, a big one, eating roadkill.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's like beeping his horn and it just wouldn't budge. So what he does, first gear, rolls up to it and tries to nudge it away. Whereupon this thing gets up, turns around, plants 2 hands on the bonnet, leans forward so the face is right up to the windscreen and it's snarling. The back end of the car goes up and it starts growling. And he said the thing had presence of mind to look up because there was another car coming up the road behind him.
Mm.
And it just gently let the car down. Now, gone. And as I say, it was Debbie, I think, who put me in contact with Martin.
Debbie Axwell.
Yeah. And we had an email exchange. I talked to him a couple of times. And he actually agreed to meet me on a Sunday to actually go to the place and show me.
Yeah.
And on the Sunday morning when I was getting ready, he called me, I think it was about 7:30 or something. And the poor lad was almost in bits. He just couldn't go through with it.
He just didn't want to go back.
No, and
Yeah,
you know, he wasn't trying to flunk out. He wasn't trying to throw me a curveball. You could tell the guy was
pretty genuine.
a bag of nerves.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he was really scared. Even though it's like almost nearly 4 years after the event.
Well, it sticks with them for life, doesn't it? Obviously, I mean, my income stick. They'll be with me for life, and everybody else's that has had them. I mean, I'm sure I've told people this before, but I interviewed a guy in Hornsey called Paul, not Paul, Tony. What's his last name? But you know, he was getting such ridicule; it was unbelievable. So he just clamped up. And finally, when I got hold of the story and I managed to talk to the guy, the first thing he did, well, after he told me his story, he grabbed me, hugged me, just hugged me. And he could see a tiny tear when he pulled back, but he just felt like turned away. I said, "You all right?" He says, "You can't believe the release that has just given me." So I said, "Yeah, that's what I'm here for."
I talked to another lad from Wales recently, and you know, he was. It still gives him the chills now. I say it was about 10 miles west of Sahawi Forest where I had 2 encounters. Yeah. I mean, the one where he was peeking around a tree and he just growled at me. He was like 20 feet away, and I left it a cheese and ham sandwich and a sausage roll and said, "Sorry, mate, I'm on my way." You know?
The kind of pop, yeah.
Yeah, all right. But you know, the first 6 to 8 months when I really got into this sort of 2017 period, they really put me through the ringer. Like I said,
I mean, I've been through it, and I know other researchers have. So you get that happy medium, don't you? You just chill out. You can either take it one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting sometimes I'd have this feeling of absolute distaste, contempt, and hatred, and sometimes I get a feeling of just like utter. Okay, you're there, mate. Fine.
That's it. Yeah.
But after that,
you think about it, you know, do I tell the world? But who's going to believe you? This is the problem. This is what you have in your mind, going back and forth.
I had, I think, around about January to, I'd say maybe about August time, things just kind of fell into a happy medium. You know, I just turn up. They would turn up. Then you know we got into the heavy breathing. I told you about the incident where there was one in the bedroom with me.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
who did the heavy breathing.
Do you want to tell the folks for this one?
Yeah. I was. It's probably about 4 years ago, I think, and was in bed, sleeping. I had my right shoulder out the cover, and I felt like this tapping, like the point of a claw tapping on the top part of my shoulder there. And then I felt this cold breath, and he was like, right. And I was like, okay, right. And I heard it walk down to the end of the bed, and I was, well, I'm going to count to 10, and I'm going to open my eyes, and then I'm going to scream like a big girl. And I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Open my eyes, nothing there.
I nearly spelled that out. Oh, sorry, I got a mental picture then.
Yeah. I mean, you know, sometimes when I go and have a sneaky bag out the front of the house, there's like a overhead cover, sort of concrete. And sometimes I've had one where they just cut me on my head like that.
Wow.
And I just look up and nothing. I mean, they come up to the back window. I think we got a picture of one from, I think, Tuesday or Thursday.
So what's at the back of your house then? Have you got woods or just fields or what?
No, it's just back of the garden. We've just got a bit of overgrown patch, which the missus wants cut, and I just refuse to do it.
That's a good excuse.
But I think one of the pictures, I think it's either from Thursday evening or Tuesday evening. You can make out the end of the nose, big wet nose, a bit of the muzzle, and maybe an eye, which is hiding the bull. That's about 8 foot up. And I think we got a new breeding, because I actually found a den in there right at the back.
The back of your garden?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of putting cameras up or anything like that?
No.
Or would that give you distrust for them?
I like to give them a bit of space.
Right.
You know, I mean, I mean, once oh God, what was
Go
it?
on.
It was this week, but you know, the missus cooking, and where the doorway is, you've got the dining room and the kitchen, and you know, windows left and right. And I was just like looking. I just felt like something was there, and I was looking, and this brown arm just away from the window, and I'm like that, and I'm like that. I'm like, you know, still in the middle of the doorway between the dining room and the kitchen, and I'm like, and this is yakking away, you know, something that's important to her, and she just looked at me and she goes, "Should you pay attention to me?" Because she goes, "I know there's one out there, but I'm not going to look." You know.
What is their intake on all this? Does she actually believe in it, or
Oh yeah.
just wants to blank it out totally?
Yeah. She, we'll say Barossa Common, near Sandhurst,
Right.
open heathland, woodland, a beautiful spot. You know, outdoor activities. I mean, one Sunday afternoon we had 3 howls, and like everyone around was just didn't stop and go, "What the hell was that?" But me and the missus, it's like people are still running. Like I say, there's an army housewife that actually lives on the estate that backs up to Barossa Common. And one of the BBI debates on the werewolf forum, you know, she goes, "Yeah, you hear them at night." And you know, it's not anything else because the power on this, the lung power.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah,
it could be nothing else.
I
mean, actually enough, I mean, I do have some pictures of them from there, 2 or 3. And at the same other time, we were just walking. Actually, you know, she was following me, but I actually got lost. So I was trying to get my bearings. But we went through this really, really sinister patch. And one went up to her and just went like that. And she, and off she went, you know. Yeah, she's a believer, and I say it's got to the point that she just doesn't want to look at pictures after when it's dark.
Yeah, I can understand that. I suppose, yeah.
You know, she actually took a picture of one that was sat in the front garden at
Right.
night, and she goes, "Oh, look what I've done." I mean, one Saturday morning, she was at home and I was away, and we're on the phone, and suddenly I heard this thud, and it was against the bedroom window.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was a few curse words, and she goes, "So one of the buggers just throwing a tennis ball at the window." And there was no one out the front of the house.
No kids, no.
So we get that.
Right. Hell yeah.
So
that's heck of a hot spot you have there, Ian. It really is.
Yeah, we got
that.
We got the River Kennet. No more than maybe about 300 metres off to our right.
Yeah.
With a lot of marsh and woodland. And
yeah, I have a bit around here. But...
tell you what, there's about probably 4 of them down there, and we've had when the deer run. You know, one of them just stopped and looked at me, and it was just like looking around. And and I walked off, and then it ran. I mean, one time the crickets or whatever was down in this marshland. You know, they're going like, you know, the volume's up 10, and like someone just pulled the plug and stopped.
Yes, it's strange, isn't it? I have come across that. Yeah.
And you know, the missus and I looking at each other.
Somebody just turns the volume down on everything.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it was 5-10 minutes, but it seemed like a long time. And then all of a sudden, someone's put the plug back in, and off they go.
Yeah, isn't it weird? I have come across that.
I can only think one of them was about.
Got to be.
You know, yeah. One was
I have bouncing drain a mile from me, but I mean, I've never seen it on there. I've been up bouncing drain a few times.
Yeah.
There's a canal that goes along top of it as well. I get down there early hours. I've had a report from a guy, funny enough, the same guy. Over the last 3 years, he's phoned me twice. He says he's seen it. I've been down there, I found no prints, but they definitely use water courses.
Kill you.
I think I've told you and some of the viewers before, but I had a poacher one bastard, and funny enough, exactly a mile from me. Poached him one night, him and his mate, gave him some ducks. We knew the farmer of this field anyway. He saw this figure and he thought, oh, it's a farmer. He had a headlight torch on. It was turned off at the time. He went walking up, clicked it on. Oh, heck, there it was. He says 7 or 8 foot, whatever it was, teeth claws. Just stood there breathing. He says, he just shouted his mate, he go up and he ran, he go in the cameras, but and he says, what was it? He says, werewolf, and his mate just burst out laughing. He just rounded on his mate. I mean, I've interviewed him, but I wanted to come on camera. But he says he'll never forget it. Never, ever forget that sight. And he thinks he saw it again a year later, not in the same location, about a mile further up. He's doing some more shooting. And he just got this glimpse, and he knew straight away what it was.
Oh, yeah.
He was out of there, he says. That's when he rang me again. He says, I think I've seen it again. I see joking. When he told me, same location, never again. Definitely use water courses.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, they burrow. Sometimes they make burrow or dents along water, riverside.
Yeah, because I've had reports of people seeing these things, and then they go under, obviously, the river banks, and they have, what it is, and ivy or whatever it is. I'm no faunic type of person, but they said you can see them go under it, and you can see it actually rippling as it's going along. Next minute, it'll just disappear. I've had that a few times, not from the same people, from different reports, saying the same thing. The next minute it just disappears, like it's gone in a hole, or it's vanished. I don't know. So I'm no a real expert on that. But yeah, it is very interesting. I mean, I had one from Humber Bridge, same thing again, but this was on a mountain, on a cliffside. So it rippling again. It went under this undergrowth, disappeared. And I did actually some rock climbers. It's about maybe a year later, I forgot this report. I went into the forest there and there's some rock climbers. I said, excuse me, and I just roughly explained, is there any tunnels get them, all this RV and that? I said, no. She sure? He said, oh, we've done all this face for years. We practice it. He said, I've never come across a tunnel. So I thought that was a bit weird. So why are these things disappearing? How are they disappearing? I mean, this couple at this foreshore, Hazel Foreshore, I'm sure you've heard of that, where the Humber Bridge is. There was adamant what they saw. The man and the couple, obviously the couple. They was adamant what they saw, and it went under the RV, and you could see the RV rippling. It just disappeared.
I definitely believe they got a box of tricks they can play with, especially like this sort of cloaking, uncloaking. I mean, you can even do like a 50-50 where you can see top half and then the bottom half, you can't see it.
Yeah, well, I ain't come across the cloaking, but I know you have, and I know quite a few
I got a couple of pictures.
The American guys.
Yeah. I definitely believe they use portals as well.
Right.
As I said, I mean, there was like a 4-year gap where I was like, well, yeah, anything could be possible because, these things technically shouldn't exist. But here they are.
Yeah.
And, they're lightning fast, they're strong, they're intelligent. I've never, by that one occasion, I've never had a bluff charge. I've never had, where I'm thinking, okay, this is it. Am I going to go to heaven or am I going to go to Valhalla? And but it's so, but by that one situation, at 200 meters, and it was something like get out of there. But to say, I mean, anything's possible. And then a female associate of mine, she actually came up to Nooney Woods. I mean, I wasn't there, but she was taking pictures. But she got a picture like it was a thin mist, but it was like a hole opening up just above the ground. and you can see one like coming through.
Well,
So,
coming through a portal.
yeah, coming through the hole. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So on that theory, then, Ian. So do you? I mean, I think these are flesh and blood. I think, and I'm
yeah,
sure you do.
absolutely. Yeah.
But do you think these could be from another dimension coming in, or?
I can't give you a
No, I
100%
know.
answer.
What do you think?
I think they use them for moving around.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's like if you manipulate gravity, you know, you can, in theory, you know, sort of open time loops, bend time and space, and travel across the cosmos in.
I know they say it's very
You know what I mean?
likely they can do this. I was watching a program just coming off that. There's moving objects. They've actually developed a little tool now that can move objects. Not very heavy at the moment. It's in its infancy. It's a group of speakers, and they pick this ball up with this ultrasound. You can't hear it. Pick this ball up, move it, and put it down, and it's done by sound. So I mean, it's only a light thing, but obviously over time, things like look at the mobile phone. It was like bloody houses, weren't they? Now that small.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and I know they say that portals do exist. It's how they form. It's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same way that Sabi, or Bigfoot move around as well. I mean, you know, Bigfoot can manipulate or form these balls of light.
Well, they do say sometimes. Well, people have reported UFOs seen at the same time when they've seen Bigfoot. So, is there a connection? This is it, or is it balls of light?
Well, I mean, I've seen UFOs, but I mean, I've never seen anything in conjunction, reference.
So
well, I was, around the woods, like I said, I mean, I've seen them 7 times up in the woods. But that's not my thing. But the really weird thing, according to Irish folklore, fairies and werewolves have a link.
Really?
Yeah. I can't explain it. It's just.
Well, I believe in fairies. So.
Yeah. Well,
How does it work? What's the link? How does the link work? In what way?
I haven't got a clue, because sure as poo. After I read this, but a couple of months later, again, some people I associate with it were saying, you've seen these sort of blue fluorescent ball things, next to a woofer, or reddish or white light, or things flying.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, would that be a common association with the Fae people, with werewolves? I know bluebells are supposed to be associated with werewolves as well, or great wolves.
In what connection?
That I still
you don't know.
I'm still learning that.
On about the fairy theme, I mean, there was a woman. I did an interview. I think it was about 2 years ago. I was on somebody's show, and this woman contacted me, and she said she talked to fairies. And some of the stuff she told me, I thought, wow, yeah, I think this woman is genuine. And she says, be careful out there, because they know who you are through the fairies, and they know you're pretty good because you save animals. I said, what do you mean I save animals? And I do, and I'm real known at work. I mean, we work outside, and I've got bees, and I'll give them a drink, or I'll find shield beetles, and I'll pick them up, and I'll put them into the woodland that we've got running in the back of our premises where I work. And she says, you do all sorts like that. And I thought, what the heck does she know that? Anyway, and I said, look, can I talk to you more? Can I sort of like interview her, talk to you? She said, I'll think about it. She was under an alien, she told me on my Facebook, when she just come off and blanked me. If she's listening tonight, I really appreciate her getting in touch. I really would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
But when she told me that, I've never really told anybody this. I didn't know what to make of it at first. When she told me that, I thought, yeah, there could be a connection. She says, I'm all right. She says, there says, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I don't mean any harm. Wow.
Not unless it's a mosquito.
Yeah, I've had a few lumps.
Oh, I get bitten all the time, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was. I mean, I used to go years and never got bitten. Excuse me, cold that I had the other week. Still not. Oh, I'll just get a drink in. Sorry.
It's all right, man.
But, yeah, I didn't used to get bitten for years, and I could go anywhere, and I never got bitten.
Yeah.
But I thought it was because I ate garlic, and I love things with garlic bread. Anything have garlic on it. And I stopped eating garlic, and I started getting bitten a lot, and I got really bad bitten. And I went to the doctors for enough about something else, and I said I just happened to mention it last. It's not going to get bitten. I'm out in the wilderness quite a lot. I say I've got an extensive hobby, blah blah blah. And he says, "Oh, we'll do a test, did a blood test." He says, "You're going to hospital." I said, "I beg your pardon." He says, "You're going to hospital." I said, "What for?" I was diabetic. I was 32 on the scale. He says, "Surprisingly, you had a heart attack. Your blood's like treacle. We need you in hospital immediately." And this is how I found out. And it says it's because the moss eaters can tell how much sugar's in your blood. Now, I don't know if it's a full science fact. It must be, but since I started taking my tablets and on medication now, I don't get bitten. Then I did for about a year. So because diabetes takes a while coming on, it doesn't just come on like that. It takes a while. Yeah. It can take over a year. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I found out it's why I was getting bitten. And I thought it was because I stopped eating garlic. Yeah, but yeah, they can definitely tell. Sorry, I get a drink.
Yeah.
Oh, threw up. Have you had any reports? Do you do reports in? Do you interview people? Do you?
Not at all. I've maybe about 4 in 3 years.
I know they're very rare, but I've had 3 this year, but a bit skeptic there, I suppose. But
I mean, I normally, if someone inadvertently says, if I talk about it and then they just sort of say something, it just pops out. No, because normally I don't kind of push myself onto, I just don't walk into a farm, knock on the door and say, "Oh, mate, have you seen one of these?"
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, so I've got my cards. Here, mate. Here's a ring.
Yeah. But, sometimes walking in the woods, people walking the dogs and the dogs are acting bonkers and they're saying, "Do you have a big dog with you?" I was like, "Nah," but I know straight away one's behind me.
Oh, it is, yeah. That's it. You was on about some, was it voice recordings you've got?
Yeah, I got some barking.
Yeah, that was it.
From Newley Woods and Stockley Copse, May Lane, Fordswell.
You're right, Ian. You're right there.
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. But
he took some painkillers. He's got a bad back. So anyway, he's pulled his back at work, this gentleman. But he said he's still the show.
It just. I mean, it's distant, but the power on the bark. I mean, I've actually experienced the bark behind me, February 12th, which I told you about. And I say one time, a couple of weeks back, I pull up to May Lane, and there was one going nuts, and I was just like, God. But sometimes just don't have presence of mind to start recording. Because I was thinking, if I get this, I mean, this would be like. Well, it's not a fox, and it's certainly not a deer, because I know deer bark when people are around. But this thing was just going bonkers.
Mental.
And I think normally it's the young ones that are doing the barking, because when you listen to an adult bark, it's
more deeper and
completely different experience.
Yeah, but it is actually, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I sent you a voice record. Well, it was some years ago. But, I mean, I recorded it. He did it on a recorder, some recorder, but you heard that clicking where he turns it on and off. Yeah, then he sent me it, and I couldn't record it from what he sent me, and I don't know what file it was. I'm not technical minded, but I couldn't save it. So I had to play it through my speaker and record it that way, so it's a bit distorted. But that was definitely, that's what he says he was hearing on a regular basis at the end of his guard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, especially when it's no more than maybe about 50, 60 feet behind you across the road, you know, and it's like I say, you know, it's like turn the dial up to 11. And yeah, just because that's why I had the one chasing the pheasant to my left and the other one that came up out of the undergrowth and moved from left to right in front of me, and I got up on two legs and then turned into the tree line. I was just absolutely rooted to the spot. Yeah. And when it barked, that snapped me too, you know. I just ran back to the car. I sat there for about 10 minutes. I thought, right, big boy pants on, run out, take about 7 pictures. And in 4 of them, the one in the tree line had doubled back and was coming up on my right, because there was this black blob that was getting bigger and bigger in each picture.
That'll be scary. Be in my car. Doors locked.
Oh, I tell you what, I got a picture of this guy. One day, it was June 2018.
Okay.
And I owned back then I owned a green Skoda Octavia 5-door. I parked up and I got out and I walked past the same steel gate where I normally go, and over the far right, all I could see was the left cheek jowl, the side of the head, under a tree. And it's like, because I mean, basically, they do like backing up into the shadows up against a tree,
right?
Because it's so dark in the shade. You could literally walk past it and not see it.
Yeah.
I think the head is 3 foot wide or thereabouts.
Right.
And I saw this thing and I looked. I went, "You're all right, mate." I said, "I'm going to go back now, okay?" So I sat in the car, but one thing I did do, I got my phone on top of the steering wheel. I was holding it like that. And sure enough, it must have done like a leopard crawl, army fashion. Popped its head up. I went, click. I went, "Cheers, buddy." Off I went. I went back the same day and I seen the area where it had been laid down, and I measured it.
Yeah.
And in terms of length and width of the body, it was almost about the same size with my car.
Oh, my neck.
So it must have been about 12 foot if it stood upright.
Some size, is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that patch that I found on my second sighting, I mean, that was about 4 foot across, roughly, maybe 4.5. And I think that thing that I saw was somewhere between 7 or 8 foot. It was hard to tell.
Oh, the big. I mean, I tell you, there's some real big buggers in Oxfordshire.
No, but there is, yeah.
There's some real. I don't know what's in the water here, but I mean, there are. I mean, the 7, 8 footers. I call them standard issue.
Yeah.
You know, but there are some that are exceptionally big, without a shadow of a doubt.
I mean, I've heard reports of other researchers getting really big. I mean, I think the average people, when they say to me, the people that I have interviewed over the years, is the average, I think it's about 6 or 7 feet. And that's about it, really. Nobody's ever said it was 8, 12 feet tall.
I mean, Vic, episode 222, Dogman Encounters, the last 20 minutes is a guy from Reading.
Yeah.
Over 2017, he went down a lane that runs parallel with the Thames in Caversham.
Okay.
And he saw a 10-footer. I just looked at him. He was in Tonya.
That one. That rings a bell. Yeah, that does ring a bell now.
Yeah, I bet I actually made a couple of short videos trying to recreate where he went. And actually, one of the pathways cuts right round the golf course and takes you right into Nooney Woods.
So there's a good, I mean, Dane's Dyke's right next to the golf course. And it's seen on there quite a few times, I reckon. Do you get any other cryptids reported to you then, Ian? Any either like Bigfoot or Wendigos or whatever?
No.
You had anything strange?
Oh,
Any paranormals?
When my mum was alive, I mean, she could do out of the body, and up until about.
What experience?
Yeah, she died when I was 10. I could do the same, but I can't do it now. I had Maybe about 6 weeks ago. I was sleeping in bed, and for some reason I woke up, and there was this figure all dressed in white looking down at me
In
in the
white?
bedroom. Yeah.
Who'd you get these black figures, don't they? The shadow people.
Well, we got shadow people at work.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't remember the saying now, but the one with the hat, they reckon he's the boss. But I can't remember the actual saying. I'll have to look it up again. It's years since I read it. But if you knock his hat off, he's got to grant you a wish.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was, this wasn't a shadow. It was dressed in white. It was just down looking at me. I mean, I've had someone grab my legs,
Wow.
my right leg, and try and shake me awake.
Yeah.
I told him to F off. I'm sleeping, and it stopped, and they went away. But I mean, I'm actually, I'm at my nan's now, and where I sleep, I had generically, the people I associate with, we call them woofers. So I've had one sat in the room there with me. Yeah, I woke up one night, and it was just there, and I was just looking at it. I just rolled over and carried on.
Carried on, yeah.
You know, I mean, sometimes, I can hear him climbing on the roof here. You know, but
what do you think about climbing up? I mean, some of these tiles on these roofs are quite thin, aren't they? And they've got must be weighing somewhere between £300 and £400.
I mean, they seem to have an amazing ability to somehow balance or sort of counterbalance the weight, so as not to cause cause any damage.
Excuse me.
It's strange. I mean, I can hear him scrambling up. It's not a cat. It's not a cow or a bird or anything. Because it's you can definitely tell that there's a bit of weight there, but for some reason, it just doesn't come through the ceiling.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, years ago. I mean, Paul got the same report. Paul Sinclair. So I won't go into details, but this woman had it on the roof. She says it was climbing on her veranda roof, and when she showed her what type of tiles there was, I mean, Paul's an ex-builder, and he says there's not a cat in because that thing's got to weigh 400, 500 pounds. It'll come crashing through. So it's never why. It's always been in the back of my mind. So
I know. I mean, I've had one jump out. I've had one jump out in front of me. I mean, literally, like arcing through the air like that. Like it's so hard to describe, but it was so graceful and poetic, and honestly, it was just like in slow motion. But it just it was about 30 foot in the air. It just jumped across this pathway, and it'd been following me on my left, and it just did this thing, and it was just like not even Uriah could do anything like that.
No,
it was just like it was done on purpose, like for show.
Yeah. I think there's an account in the old Daily Mail with old Stinker, and that jumped the River Hull there, and the gap was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was just like one of the most, like it was almost privileged just to be there.
Yeah, I get you to see it.
Yeah, it was. It was just, it was the most graceful, almost. I was just in awe. I mean, there's no other words for it. It's just
privileged. I call it privileged. Yeah. Well, we've got roughly about 10 minutes left, Ian. Do you want to tell anything that you're doing in the future, or what? Have you got any plans for the future, Ian?
Just to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to build up, like a slight video. We've got maybe about 5 videos, I think.
Yeah.
Of UK ones. I mean, they're slowed down really, really slow, so you can almost see it.
Yes, you see them. Okay. Oh, I look forward to
that. Hundreds of pictures. Scotland, Wales, England, 1 or 2 from Northern Ireland.
Yeah. I know they have a fair few out across there, don't they? I mean, I've never had I've had a sort of like inclination from a report, but I've never had really anything come forward towards me. I know the people have, but they seem to have a fair few across there. Well, it's steeped in history anyway, like England.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, when we finish, we'll just have a quick chat. I'll tell you about something about Larn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you not tell us on here? Is it top secret?
No, no, I'd have to get, for the photograph, I'd have to get permission.
Okay, that's no problem. Understand that.
So yeah, I'm still doing the werewolves, or great wolves.
Yeah.
I still, I mean, like we discussed before, I like to shake hands or hug one or.
Yeah, I would. I'd like to shake a paw, definitely.
Yeah.
Are you going to do any publishing in the future, Ian? Any books, anything like that planned apart from your videos?
I really know. I actually had someone email me sort of saying, like, when am I going to do any more YouTube videos?
Mm-hmm.
But,
Another feeling I need to get on top of that.
I am planning probably doing a second volume of, you know, of Canis Sleeper, Magna Ex Anglia. I'll probably call it the earliest word I could find for these things was Blieka Skuka. Skuka maybe the root word for shook or shuka. Yeah. And it basically means great terror, or roughly translated. So I might do
I can't remember what it means, shook. It's like what's that dog down south? Black
it's the same thing. It's one of the same thing.
Mm.
Hellhound, devil dog, whatever you want to call it.
Hellhound. That's the biggest common one, isn't it? Yeah.
But Skuka, Blieka Skuka is basically about the earliest language, Old English I could find, and Skuka maybe the root word for shook or shuka.
I thought that was German. Isn't that German origin?
Well, I mean, Saxon. I mean, if you take Saxon tribes coming into England in second and third and fourth centuries AD, because the Romans used to employ a lot of Utes, Angles, Saxons in the Roman army here for the garrison, and they started bringing the wives and kids over. And at any one time, the size of the Roman army in England was about 28,000 during the third century.
That was big, wasn't it?
And then you get in the sort of like 4th, 5th centuries, you start getting migration from northwestern Frisia, Saxony, and the Lower Rhine actually coming into England.
Right.
And of course, they start settling in Norfolk and Suffolk. Of course, Norfolk, Nordvolk, Suffolk, Sudvolk. So that they have a Germanic language. And, you know, by the late 5th, going into the 6th century, you know, you start getting the sort of fighting between the inhabitants of England, or basically the modern Welsh,
right?
Today. And the Saxons start spreading west, north, southwest, and they're pushing back the Brythonic-speaking English people, and the Saxons started taking over. I mean, it didn't happen over like a period of like 2-3 years. It wasn't like this blitzkrieg or this. It was like a slow encroachment over a period of decades.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe because, you know, Shrek means terror in German.
Yeah.
So Shrek,
I thought it's frightening or something. The way it's frightening.
So, I mean, basically, at some point, 4th, 5th century AD, you know, maybe the introduction of the word would have been Skuka.
Right. Okay.
As it became more Anglified and the roots of Latin and French ingrained in our language, you know, maybe it became from Skuka, Shuk, Shuka, you know.
It's amazing when you look into a lot of these old places. I've done a bit of research and quite a few reports, and when you look into the old places, find the old names. Some of them sort of like mean like wolf place or
I mean,
they're all connected to wolves in some form or other. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Fortwell up here was called Keelwolf during the Saxon period,
right?
And there's been a settlement around Fordswell's Bronze Age, it's been farmed there since God knows when, because they got tumuli for chieftains around here.
Right.
And May Lane is basically part of an old Roman road network.
Yeah, it's
But
surprising, isn't it? What's connected and why they called it that. And yeah, I do find it fascinating. I've looked in quite a few number of places, but again, you think, oh, that's connection to a wolf. Another connection, another, and they just seem to all go back to wolf. Everything leads to a wolf.
Yeah, because
not all the time, but yeah.
They're saying the Doomsday, the village Fordwell, or the settlement there was called Keerwolf.
Yeah,
you know,
right. It is a fascinating stuff. Anyway, Ian, have you got anything to add before we go?
No,
we'll wrap up the show.
No, I'm good.
And you're done. How's your back? How are you coping?
Right, holding up, mate. You know, war wound, lad.
Well, a star. Anyway, obviously, I'm talking to Ian Wood. What a fantastic guest he's been. And anybody who comes onto my show receives one of these. So when I send it to you, Ian, all I need of you, obviously, is your address, where to send it. And I'd appreciate a picture of you holding it when you receive it, so I can put it on my website.
Absolutely.
Say that you've got it. And you're going to go downhill from now on. Now you've talked to me. So regret every minute.
When I said to you a couple of days ago, I said sometime early next spring.
Yes.
I get a couple of days off. Find wherever you live. If there is a hotel nearby, I'll camp up for a couple of days. And
You're welcome to stay.
I'll bring my little photo album, and you can have a good gander.
Well, you're welcome to stay. It's it is a 3-bedroom house, but there's only 1 bedroom. One's for storage, all my gear.
Yeah.
This is a bedroom, but it's a study, and I only have 1 bedroom. But I can camping beds. Well, yeah, I can put you up here.
No problem.
If it's next March, did you say March?
Yeah.
Beginning of March, I've got something on. I've already got pre-booked for a week. I can't say. I don't want to say it to the public. But you will see next year if it goes ahead.
Yeah.
So it is wolf related. But yeah, we'll organise something and we'll get together, make a documentary or film or short film and get all these people. Thank you, Ian. You've been absolutely fantastic. And
thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm trying to get a sort of like somebody to chat to once every fortnight. Somebody let me down last week. It was my fault. It wasn't their fault. So if they're listening, I have apologised to them. And I've just got a few friends going through a few bad times. I totally forgot about. I was going to interview him, and I went out to see a friend. Well, he's just had a loss, a family member. And he just went out my head. So I knew he was next on my list. He's took a bit of a huff, and I really wish you'd contact me again. But if anybody wants to be on the show, please contact me, the usual channels. I've had a few out there, but I'm trying to priority it to the expertise of these people like Ian. So just get in touch, please. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show. We'll see you again. Thank you very much, and thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Cole. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.